They say long-distance relationships either make or break you. I thought we were the exception to the rule, the couple that could withstand anything. After all, when my girlfriend Emma got accepted into a prestigious university program in Tokyo, I was her biggest supporter. I was the one who encouraged her to chase her dreams, even though the thought of her being thousands of miles away felt like a knife to my gut. But I trusted her. Or at least, I thought I did. We met during our junior year of college and hit it off immediately. She was smart, driven, and had this goofy, infectious laugh that could brighten the worst of my days. By the time she was accepted into the program, we had been together for 3 years. We'd weathered everything: stressful exams, internships in different cities, even months apart during summer breaks. So, I was naive enough to believe that Japan wouldn't change us. The first few months were hard but manageable. We called every day, and I'd stay up until 2 a.m. just to catch her after her classes. She'd send me pictures of cherry blossoms, late-night ramen spots, and goofy selfies with her classmates. Most of the time, there was this one guy in the photos, June. The first time I saw him, I asked jokingly, "Who's this guy you keep hanging out with?" She laughed. "Oh, that's June. Don't worry, he's gay. He's like my Japanese gay best friend." I remember breathing a sigh of relief. I didn't think much of it after that. Maybe I should have. The first crack in the facade came 3 months later. I noticed she was posting fewer photos of herself, but more group shots from parties, something she swore she didn't have time for. She'd always been a little shy and introverted back home, but now it seemed like she'd turned into the life of the party. "You're really going out a lot, huh?" I asked during one of our video calls, trying to sound casual. She shrugged, looking almost guilty. "It's cultural. Everyone goes out after classes here. If I didn't go, I'd look rude." "Well, don't get too comfortable with all the late nights," I joked. "I still plan to marry you someday." Her smile flickered for a second, barely perceptible, but enough for my gut to twist. Then, she started canceling our calls. First, it was once or twice a week. Then, it became a regular thing. "Sorry, I'm swamped with group projects," she'd text, or, "I'm crashing after this party. Can we talk tomorrow?" Tomorrow would come and go without a call. By the second month, I was spiraling. Was I being paranoid? I didn't want to be that insecure, needy boyfriend who blew up her phone or accused her without proof. But deep down, I knew something was off. One night, after 2 missed calls in a row, I opened Instagram and scrolled mindlessly through her stories. That's when I saw it, a group photo at a party. June had his arm draped around Emma, their faces pressed close, laughing at something off camera. My stomach dropped. I messaged her immediately. "Hey, saw your story. Looks like a wild night." Her response came an hour later. "Yeah, just a small thing." June was being silly as usual. Her explanation made sense, but something still gnawed at me. I told myself I was overreacting, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't getting the full story. A few weeks later, a message popped up in my inbox from a girl I didn't know. Her username was something generic, @YukariLoves. "Hey, I know this is random, but I thought you should see this." Attached were 3 photos. My heart pounded as I opened them. The first photo was of Emma sitting on June's lap, his hand resting casually on her waist. The second was of them kissing, his hand tangled in her hair as they danced in some dimly lit club. The third was a screenshot of a conversation between the girl and Emma. "Yukari, are you still with your American boyfriend?" Emma, "Yeah, but it's complicated. Long distance is really hard, and I'm not sure how long we'll last." Yukari, "But does he know?" Emma, "No, and I don't plan to tell him." My entire body went numb. I read those messages over and over, hoping I'd misinterpreted something, that there was some inside joke I didn't understand. But no, there was no denying it. When I finally found the strength to message Emma, my fingers trembled. "Who is Yukari?" I asked. Her reply was quick. "Oh, just a girl from my class." "Why?" I felt the blood drain from my face as I typed. "She sent me photos of you, and June care to explain?" The typing indicator appeared for what felt like an eternity before disappearing altogether. A minute passed, then 2. Finally, she responded. "Can we talk tomorrow? Please." Tomorrow? She wanted to wait until tomorrow? I felt like my chest was caving in. No. Now. Her response was a single, heartless sentence. I didn't want you to find out like this. That's when I knew. I had been living in a lie. Every call, every sweet text, every inside joke. It was all tainted. The girl I loved, the girl I was planning to spend my life with, had been lying to me for months. And it got worse. The next day, Yukari messaged me again. I don't know if you want to know this, but you should. Emma also has an OnlyFans account. I stared at the screen, disbelief surging through me. No, not Emma. She wasn't like that. I opened the link Yukari sent. My stomach churned as the page loaded. There she was, Emma, smiling provocatively in a way I'd never seen before, wearing lingerie I didn't recognize. I felt sick. This wasn't just betrayal. It was a complete dismantling of everything I thought I knew about her. About us. I didn't know what was worse. The fact that she cheated with someone she claimed was just a gay friend, or the fact that she built a secret online persona, selling parts of herself to strangers while leaving me in the dark. The weight of it crushed me, but I wasn't done. Not yet. I needed answers, and I wasn't about to let her lie her way out of this. I barely slept that night. I stared at the ceiling in the dark, replaying everything in my mind. Every kiss, every promise, every stupid dream we made together. Her betrayal played on a loop, louder and louder until I thought I was going insane. By morning, I felt like a hollowed-out shell of myself. But I knew one thing. I wasn't going to sit in silence. I needed to confront her. When she finally called, her face filled the screen. She looked pale, her eyes rimmed with red, but I wasn't moved. I was too broken, too furious to feel anything close to sympathy. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Her voice was small, like that of a scared child. "I never wanted you to find out like this." "Like this?" I snapped. "Emma, you've been lying to me for months. What part of this did you think wouldn't destroy me?" Her face crumpled, and she covered her mouth, holding back a sob. I didn't care. My fists clenched at my sides. She deserved to feel this pain. Hell, she deserved worse. Why? My voice cracked, and I hated how pathetic I sounded. Why, June? Why hide everything? And what's this about OnlyFans? Her eyes widened at the mention of it. Who told you about that? Does it matter? I laughed bitterly. Someone with more respect for me than you had. She let out a slow, shaky breath. It started as a way to make extra money. Tokyo's expensive, and, I don't know, it felt empowering at first. June was the one who encouraged me to start it. He said I could take control of my body and, well, empowering? I cut her off, disgusted. You think cheating on me is empowering? I slammed my hand against the desk, making the webcam shake. That's not empowerment, Emma. That's betrayal. Tears streamed down her face now, but I wasn't buying the waterworks. I wasn't going to be another idiot who got suckered by her apologies. I never stopped loving you, she whispered. I was just lonely. I laughed, a bitter, broken sound. Lonely? You were lonely, so you slept with another guy? She winced like I'd slapped her, but I didn't care. Do you even understand what you've done to me? You broke me, Emma. You broke us. I didn't mean to, she said, her voice trembling. I was scared to tell you the truth because I knew you'd leave me. You're right about that, I said coldly. I am leaving. Her sob turned into a desperate gasp. Please don't do this. We can fix this. I'll delete the account. I'll block June. I'll do anything. Just don't walk away. I shook my head, feeling the weight of it all crushing my chest. You already walked away the moment you decided I wasn't enough for you. Her face crumbled, but I didn't stay to watch. I ended the call and stared at the blank screen for a long time, trying to process what had just happened. The girl I thought I knew better than anyone, the girl I trusted with my whole heart, had unraveled into someone I didn't even recognize. I thought that would be the end of it, but life has a way of twisting the knife just when you think the worst is over. 3 days later, my phone buzzed with another message from Yukari. Hey, sorry to bother you again, but you need to know this. Attached was a series of screenshots, text messages between Emma and June. Emma, I can't believe he found out. Yukari's a traitor. June, forget him. He's across the world. He'll get over it. Emma, I feel bad, but you're right. It was bound to happen eventually. June, just focus on us. I couldn't breathe. I read the last message over and over, the words searing into my brain. Focus on us. She wasn't even sorry. She wasn't remorseful. She was just angry she got caught. The guilt she'd shown during our call? All fake. A performance. And I had almost believed her. I wasn't just angry. I was livid. I felt like I was suffocating under the weight of it all, and the only way to breathe again was to do something. Anything. That would make her feel even an ounce of the pain I was drowning in. So, I made a decision. If she wanted to live like this, to lie, manipulate, and hide behind a false persona, then I was going to drag her world into the light. I logged into every social media platform I had, uploading the screenshots Yukari had sent me, along with a single caption. The truth always comes out. It spread faster than I anticipated. Friends messaged me in shock. Classmates posted their own takes on what happened, and mutual acquaintances in both the US and Japan commented, saying they had suspected something all along. Emma's perfect online image? Shattered in an instant. But as satisfying as it was to expose her lies, it didn't heal me. I wasn't whole again. I scrolled through the mess I'd created, staring blankly at the fallout. Part of me hated that I stooped so low. The other part of me whispered that she deserved it. The worst part? After everything, I still loved her. Or maybe I just loved who I thought she was. The messages kept flooding in, friends offering their support, others asking for the dirty details, and a few even blaming me for airing out our private lives. I ignored them all. None of it mattered anymore. Then, out of nowhere, I got one last message that made my stomach churn. It was from Emma. I hope you're happy. You've ruined my life. I stared at the screen, the irony of her words like a punch to the gut. I ruined her life? She had no idea what she'd done to mine. But this time, there was no fixing it. Her message sat there like a ticking time bomb. I read it over and over. You've ruined my life. The audacity of those words made my blood boil. She ruined her own life the second she betrayed me. But despite everything, her message still hit like a sledgehammer to the chest. I didn't respond. I didn't block her either. I wanted her to sit there, staring at the silence, knowing she no longer had any control over me. But the silence wasn't enough to drown out the storm in my head. I kept asking myself the same questions. What could I have done differently? Should I have seen the signs earlier? Was I not enough? That last question was the worst. It burrowed into my skull and spread like poison. The idea that maybe I was the problem. 2 days later, I decided I couldn't stay locked in my apartment anymore. My roommate, Alex, had been watching me with this worried look ever since everything came out. He hadn't said much, just passed me a beer and told me, "You deserved better, man." But I knew he didn't know how to help. "I'm going out," I told him, grabbing my jacket. He raised an eyebrow. "Where?" "Anywhere that isn't here." I ended up at a bar downtown. One of those dimly lit places where the music was loud enough to drown out your thoughts, but not so loud that you couldn't hold a conversation if you wanted to. Not that I wanted to. I sat at the bar and ordered a whiskey neat. I wasn't much of a drinker before all of this, but that night, the burn felt like the only thing keeping me grounded. Halfway through my second drink, my phone buzzed. I ignored it at first, but curiosity got the better of me. I glanced down at the screen. Another message from Yukari. "June and Emma are trying to spin the story. I thought you should know." Attached was a screenshot of Emma's latest post on her Instagram story. It was a block of text over a generic photo of a sunset. "I'm not perfect. I made mistakes. But no one deserves to be humiliated the way I've been. The person I trusted the most weaponized our private moments against me. Please remember that there are always two sides to every story." I laughed out loud, a bitter, humorless sound that made the bartender glance my way. Two sides to every story? Was she seriously trying to paint herself as the victim? I should have been used to her lies by now, but somehow, this still stung. She was trying to shift the blame onto me, pretending that my reaction to her betrayal was worse than the betrayal itself. I felt the old rage flare up again, hot and suffocating. I thought about posting something else, Another set of screenshots to blow up whatever sympathy she was trying to garner. But what was the point? The truth was already out there. The damage was done. Anymore, and I just looked like a bitter ex trying to burn the whole world down with me. I downed the rest of my drink and stood up to leave when I heard someone say my name. Jason? I turned to see a familiar face, Maya, an old friend from college. We lost touch after graduation, but seeing her again felt like a small breath of fresh air. She wasn't part of the chaos. She didn't know the full story yet, just the basics that had been circulating online. Hey, I said, managing a weak smile. She hesitated for a second before sitting down next to me. I heard everything. Of course, she had. Everyone had. My life had become some kind of sick soap opera for people to watch from a distance. Yeah, I muttered, rubbing the back of my neck. It's been a mess. She nodded, her expression soft. I'm sorry, Jason. You didn't deserve that. Hearing those words from someone who wasn't wrapped up in the drama hit differently. For the first time in days, I felt something close to relief. We talked for hours, about everything and nothing. She didn't press for details. She just listened, and for the first time, I felt like I wasn't drowning. But peace doesn't last long when you're standing in the middle of a wreckage. When I got home that night, there was another message waiting for me from Emma. I need to talk to you. Please, just give me 5 minutes. I stared at the screen, debating whether to delete it or block her entirely. Against my better judgment, I opened the chat. Me, what's the point, Emma? Emma, there's something I didn't tell you. Me, oh great. Another secret? Emma, it's serious. Me, I'm done with your games. Emma, I think I'm pregnant. My heart stopped. I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. Pregnant? The words slammed into me like a freight train. I reread the message a dozen times, hoping I'd misunderstood. Me, are you serious? Emma, yes. I found out a week ago. I felt the world tilt beneath me. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was absolute devastation. The future I'd been clinging to, the life I thought we'd build together, was dead and buried. Now, I didn't even know if I was about to be tied to her for the rest of my life because of a mistake she made with someone else. I didn't respond. I couldn't. What was there to say? The next few days passed in a blur. My friends checked in on me, but I was a ghost of myself. My mind kept replaying every conversation, every touch, every look Emma and I had shared. None of it felt real anymore. Then, the final blow came. Yukari messaged me one last time. Just thought you'd want to know. Emma and June are officially together now. She posted a photo of them. Attached was the photo. Emma and June, holding hands outside some Tokyo cafe, smiling like they hadn't shattered someone's world. That was it. That was the moment I felt something inside me snap and die. I deleted every message, every photo, every reminder of her from my phone. I blocked her on everything. I was done giving her the power to hurt me. But even as I tried to move forward, the pain lingered. I wasn't sure I'd ever be the same again. Some wounds don't heal. They just leave scars to remind you of what you survived. And in the end, all I had left were those scars, and the bitter truth that sometimes, love isn't enough to save someone who doesn't want to be saved. When you go through something like this, people tell you a lot of useless things. You'll be stronger after this. Time heals all wounds. You deserve better. They mean well, but none of it helps when you're lying awake at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling, wondering why you weren't enough. When you're haunted by memories of someone who wasn't haunted by you. The photo of Emma and June holding hands burned itself into my mind. It didn't matter that I deleted it. I saw it every time I closed my eyes. The way she smiled at him. The same smile she used to give me when she'd steal my hoodie on lazy Sunday mornings, or when I'd surprise her with her favorite coffee. It wasn't fair. I was drowning, and she looked like she'd never been happier. I felt humiliated, chewed up and spit out by someone who swore she'd never hurt me. But it wasn't just the betrayal. It was the realization that I had poured everything into someone who was empty inside. Someone who could walk away from the wreckage she caused and build a new life as if I'd never existed. I tried to move on. I really did. I went out with friends. I muted her name across all my social media. I even tried therapy. but nothing could dull the ache inside me. I was grieving someone who was still alive, someone who'd simply chosen to love someone else. And the worst part? I still felt haunted by that last conversation. I think I'm pregnant. I was trapped in this limbo of questions that would never have answers. What if it was my child? What if it wasn't? What if she'd lied about the whole thing just to keep me from walking away entirely? I'd never know. And that uncertainty was its own kind of torture. But no matter how much I hated her, no matter how angry I was, I hated myself more. I hated that I had let this happen. I hated that I couldn't just flip a switch and move on the way she had. One night, Alex found me sitting on the couch in the dark, a half-empty bottle of whiskey in front of me. "Jason," he said softly, sitting down next to me, "you're not okay." "Yeah," I muttered. "No kidding." He ran a hand through his hair, struggling for the right words. "Look, man, I know you feel like you're stuck, but Emma doesn't get to define you. She doesn't get to win." "She already did," I whispered. "She tore me apart, and I don't even know who I am anymore." Alex stayed quiet for a while before finally speaking again. "Then maybe it's not about getting back to who you were. Maybe it's about figuring out who you're going to be." That hit me hard, because the truth was, I didn't know who I was anymore. I'd built my whole identity around our relationship, around our plans, around a future that was nothing more than a fantasy now. Who was I without her? The next morning, I woke up and stared at myself in the mirror for a long time. I looked like hell, bloodshot eyes, unshaven face, the kind of exhaustion that seeps into your bones. But beneath all of that, I saw something else. Someone who was still here, despite everything. Someone who had been broken but wasn't completely destroyed. That day, I started small. I took a long shower. I cleaned my apartment. I called my mom for the first time in weeks and let her remind me that I wasn't alone. It didn't make the pain disappear, but it was a start. Weeks turned into months, and I kept putting one foot in front of the other. I wasn't magically healed. I still woke up some days feeling like the weight of it all was too much to bear. I still had nights when I'd replay everything and wonder what I could have done differently. But slowly, I started reclaiming my life. I went back to the gym. I joined a new photography class, something I'd always wanted to do but never made time for. I reconnected with old friends and even made a few new ones. But there was one thing I knew for certain. I would never be the same person I was before Emma. And maybe that was okay. The scars she left would always be there. A reminder of how blind love can make you, how dangerous it is to give everything to someone without holding a piece of yourself back. But those scars also reminded me that I'd survived the worst pain I'd ever known. Months later, I got a random message from a mutual friend who had stayed in touch with people in Tokyo. "Did you hear? Emma and June broke up." I stared at the message, waiting for some wave of satisfaction or vindication to hit me. But all I felt was nothing. I'd spent so long believing that seeing her hurt would heal me, but when it finally happened, I realized it didn't matter anymore. Her life was hers. Mine was mine. I typed out a short response, "I don't care." And for the first time, I meant it. She didn't win. I wasn't hers to hurt anymore. But even as I write this, after all this time, I still feel the ache sometimes. The ghosts of who we used to be. The memories of what I thought was real love. And that's the hardest part of betrayal. It's not just losing the person. It's losing the version of yourself who believed in them. So, if you've made it this far, maybe you're looking for some kind of moral, some neat ending to tie it all up. I don't have that for you. Life doesn't always end with perfect resolutions. But I'll leave you with this. Don't give your heart to someone who makes you doubt your worth. And if you do, don't let them be the reason you forget who you are. Because you are more than their betrayal. You are more than the pain they caused. And someday, you'll remember that too.